I'm aware that as I'm speaking to you now, I'm speaking to you from behind my skin. It's funny, I think as a boy I was very aware that I had little body hair, that my legs were stick-like, and that I was very an inappropriate size for rugby, which was an important part of the sporting life of the school I went to. So I used to escape to the art room. The issue about using one's own body, I just think it's logical. It seems very silly to make another body when you have one of your own. And you have the advantage when you use your own body of being able to work on it from the other side of appearance, which is after all where we all live. And then I think that I became increasingly interested in, somehow finding I suppose a kind of empirical equivalent to this realization that the body is not an object, that it's actually a place of transformation, a place of, in a way, energy. This is what I've been looking at for about the last 4 years, how you can, by dispensing with the idea of a closed volume, or you could say a hermetic form, make these matrices. They are literally like connective systems in which the place of the body is suggested rather than described, and you're not quite clear. Is this body the product of the matrix, or is the matrix the product of the body? Well, it's interesting because I think the way in for me was two very separate experiences, but the second reinforced the first. And the first was, my mother is German. She believed in certain very clear rules in terms of bringing up a child, and I was often sent after lunch for an enforced rest. And that was really from the age of, I guess, 6 to 11, or maybe even younger. And I used to have to go upstairs to a hot, warm bedroom and try to sleep. But I couldn't. A child that age doesn't really necessarily want to sleep in the middle of the day. And I used to lie in bed, and there would be this experience of being in this room, or anyway, space that was behind my eyes, that was very claustrophobic, very hot, very closed. But if I stayed with it long enough, it would become cooler and darker and wider, until I was floating in a dimensionless, dark, cool space that was infinite. And that was an experience that I never forgot and never understood, but it was a place that I remembered very well. And when that was reinforced then when I went and learnt Vipassana meditation with a Burmese teacher in India. This public-private thing, on the one hand, I think there's art, and all art desires to be seen, all art desires to have an audience. But I think at the same time you have to acknowledge that in working in collective space, whether that's a beach or the middle of Manhattan, there are responses that you have to make to, as it were, the social topography. And I really enjoy that, and I think it's really important. And I think one of the failures of the 20th century was that actually artists retreated into the specialized world of their studios and the gallery system and the institution of the museum. I am committed to testing the proposition that art makes in the conditions of everyday life. I'm very aware that it's a actually very supremely self-conscious visually city, in a way that London could never pretend to be. And it'd be great to have a crack at Paris. I mean, crack at, that sounds like it's a war. I mean, to somehow infiltrate Parisian daily life. I mean, it's quite interesting, because this whole thing, you know, the thing about Paris is that actually spatial relations are, on the whole, highly articulated and formal. And it'd be quite good to do something that sort of mucks that up a bit of sort of, you know, Anglo-Saxon sort of rough, chaotic messing about. might be quite good for Paris. I'm trying to be a realist, so I think the landscape, my emotional landscape, has the same hills and troughs of anybody, and I hope that through my work I'm trying to find balance between the two. So I'm giving you a Buddhist answer: equanimity. Death is the final adventure. I mean, obviously we don't know anything about what is waiting for us the other side of the threshold of death. But I'm not afraid. I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to dying, but it doesn't present me with any great terror. If somebody, as happens, and it's wonderful, says, I was, in a way, returned to my own life with a feeling that I could live it, which has happened, that's the greatest compliment you can have.